What's up, guys? Jdog here. I'm here on Josh Reviews Incorporated channel. Thanks, Josh, for having me on the show. Today I'm going to be discussing my top 5 favorite horror manga for the spooky day of Halloween, even though I'm late. But yeah, so let's just get right into it. Coming in at number 5 is The Drifting Classroom. This manga is haunting. It really nails the whole spooky atmosphere, and I found it to genuinely make me disturbed at times. It honestly made me feel sick to my stomach. The plot of The Drifting Classroom is that these kids go to a school, and one day it gets transported to this post apocalyptic world infested with monsters and hellish landscapes. The most interesting thing about this manga is how all the kids deal with it. Some kids jump off the school building to quote unquote see their parents again, which I found that immensely disturbing, and some of the kids take the responsibility of leadership, and some have to pay the price. At number 4, we have I Am a Hero. I Am a Hero is an apocalypse manga about a man who's mentally ill trying to take the apocalypse on by himself. This manga deals with mental illness in a really interesting way. He doesn't really outright show it, but the implications are definitely there. This manga deals with mental illness, as I said, in a really interesting way, and the main character is really interesting to see. He has different moral standpoints on different things, like his main thing is that he has a gun when it's illegal in Japan to have a gun, but he obviously needs to defend himself, but he doesn't let anyone else use it because he wants to sort of regulate the laws in this lawless, barren world, which I found really interesting. My number 3 pick is Fuan no Tane. Fuan no Tane, or Seeds of Anxiety, that's what its English name is, but I like Fuan no Tane a bit better. So yeah, Fuan no Tane is a short story manga, which has short stories that range from 2 pages to 40 pages. Each short story is a story about something going wrong in Japan, such as a demon baby invading a hospital, or giant mimicking faces staring down students. The stories range from dark to downright terrifying. Each one is just sort of, it just gives me that anxious feeling, and it really plays off anxiety in a great way. I always feel like the next panel is going to be something disturbing, and it really keeps you on edge throughout the entire manga. It also nails the short story aspect, with each one being as scary as it's concise. I also felt that the art style is very similar to a manga by Hideo Yamamoto, which is a plus in my book. Coming in at number 2, we have Uzumaki. It's no secret to tell that I'm a big Junji Ito fan, and even though Josh probably already talked about Junji Ito, I could not leave this one out. First things first, when I read this manga, it was scarier than anything I'd ever read, let alone seen before. You see, Junji Ito is amazing at delivering psychological horror mixed with body horror, but Uzumaki just did it the best out of all of them. There are certain panels that I can just never erase from my head. Like, when I saw that scene with the dad, I had to close the book and didn't read it until weeks later. It also gets bonus points for actually being good and entertaining throughout the entire manga. I think a problem that Ito has is that sometimes he'll have great starts to his manga, but they'll slowly deteriorate. And I think it's just because his talent really lies in short stories, but Uzumaki was amazing throughout the entire run. A lot of people say that the ending of Uzumaki was kind of meh, but I actually enjoyed it a lot. And if you want a bit more information about this manga, I highly recommend Jdog Reviews videos. He's another YouTuber that I've done videos with, called Junji Ito, The Horror Story Trio. It definitely gives a good and concise narrative on how Ito sort of crafts his stories. And even though I think the characters were kind of weak and the amazing art wasn't as amazing as people say, the world themes and story definitely carried the poor characters. So if you want to see a good scary story that simultaneously tackles some pretty interesting themes, Uzumaki is the best. Coming in at number 1 is Homunculus. Homunculus is the best horror manga I have ever read, and it's also my 9th favorite manga of all time. Its storytelling is so amazing, and it's really one of a kind. It's one of the only manga that I still find genuinely terrifying. And that's not because of its jump scares, and it's not because of its gore and violence, it's because of its psychological horror. I've been waiting to make a video about Homunculus for the longest time, and I did touch on it in my top 20 video, but I really needed to make a video on this, because I consider it to be one of my favorite horror manga, and probably one of my favorite manga in general. The story follows Nako Ishii, who has lost all connection with everyone he knows, and he's living in the street without money. This is how he lives his life, until one day a random person on the street gives him an offer. He says he will give him a large sum of money to experiment on him. This manga deals with identity, psychological trauma, and a lot more. It really deals with all these mature theories and these mature aspects so well. It does it better than any other horror manga does. And unlike most horror manga, it's more about Nakoishi's descent into madness than Nakoishi trying to get away from a scary monster. This one personally scared me because stuff about insanity has always freaked me out. Cough, cough, The Shining, cough, cough. I feel that Hideo Yamamoto was trying to give us a story about mental health, insanity, and body horror, and he nailed each of these aspects perfectly. Sadly, this manga is only in Japanese, but I do own some of the Japanese volumes. Just great little things to flip through. But sadly, you do have to read it online to enjoy. But Hideo Yamamoto does have some works released in English, so if you really feel bad about reading it online and you want to support him, either buy the Japanese volumes or just buy some of his other works in English. He really is a genius, and the ending of Homunculus is one of the best endings in manga. The manga isn't really a big jump in your face kind of horror manga, but it really has some good psychological horror, and it's the highest of my recommendations. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to subscribe to Josh's channel, leave a like on the video, and also maybe make sure to subscribe to my channel. You know, I post every week. I've been trying to go for 5 days. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. Peace.
What up, buddy? It's your boy, Senpai JD, aka Josh Reviews Incorporated, or JRI. I'm here to bring you another video. Here I'm doing a collab video with Jdog Kun. I approached him a couple of months ago to ask him to do a collab with him. He said definitely. We were talking about it a couple weeks later, and he decided to do a horror manga collab. I said, okay, let's do it. Our top 5 favorite horror manga. So number 1 on my list is The Enigma of Amigahara Fault by Junji Ito. If you don't know what the story is, basically, in the mountain range of Amigahara, the fault line has been shown after an earthquake, shown that human-shaped holes in the mountain range / fault area has showed up, and people who have been watching this looked through the something on the TV that human shape their own body shape looks exactly like their hairstyle is, the way down to the T. It looks just like them. Each one has their own personal hole, and for some reason it compels them to go search out for their hole. Once they find their hole, an uncontrollable urge to go into their hole has taken over them, and what happens is nothing really good happens. And what I liked about Amigahara Fault is the fear of the unknown, of what happens when you go into the hole, the hole, or your own hole. Obviously, no one's coming out because at some point they are calling rescue teams, and they never really explain how you start to move inside your own hole when you go in through it. You start to move deeper and deeper to the hole. They never explain that either. And it's just really the fear of the unknown. And what I like about Junji Ito, which I have another one on his list, is the artwork himself. The artwork itself is what makes his story scary. It's the artwork, and yes, he does a very great well of setting the mood, the tone, and the scariness. But it's the artwork that really drives it home for people. For me especially, it's the artwork is surreal. It's terrifying. It's really great attention to detail. And that's basically the story of what I like about Amigahara Fault. It's just the fear of the unknown. It's literally what's happening to the people who end up going into the vault, into their hole. And to find that out, guys, all I gotta say is, you haven't read it, go read it. My next part of my list, number 2, is Corpse Party. Now, I absolutely fucking love Corpse Party. One of my favorite video games I ever played, and I did watch PewDiePie play it when he was doing his run-through of it. My story of Corpse Party is a bunch of Japanese high school students are just finished their cultural festival, and they're all hanging around in their classroom, having a good time, telling having a small party. And I believe in the video game it's a little bit different, where the fact of the matter is, I think they're also having a going away party for a student who's leaving the school and is going to another school. The main character is Miyoto or something like that, Mikito or whatever. I'm not gonna go. I'm just gonna call him the MC. The MC, though, is in the game is supposed to be this guy, Mikoto. I'm gonna call him the MC. He is known to kind of be a coward and kind of gets teased on by his classmates and all that. Anyways, they're telling ghost stories, and I believe, I'm not sure if it's in the video game or not in the manga, but if it's in both. So I haven't really read a few scenes from the manga, completely. I haven't read the entirety of the manga. I have read most of it though, and it was a long time ago. So sorry, Jdog-kun, if that ruins the video or something. Or sorry, but the fuck. They do a ritual, and I guess a ritual and stuff, and they're telling ghost stories, and they ending up in an alternate dimension where they're being chased by the ghost of this school, which I believe in the video game and I think in the manga it's later believed that they're really not in the alternate, they are in the alternate dimension, but the school that they go to is built on top of another school that had a bunch of murders happen years ago. And they're being chased around by a ghost or girl in a red dress who wants revenge on them there's legitimate no reason though. I remember. I mean, just because she was probably murdered and she was a crazy psychopathic killer. Anyways, but it's a really, really good story. For me personally, I like the dynamic of relationships involved in it. The main character and his sister is one of my favorite well, obviously my favorite character, but the fact of the matter is, it really does remind me of the sense of hopelessness and loss and depression. For a lot of characters who end up meeting similar fates as because one girl ends up getting hanged, and the thing I liked about this is the ghosts and the tortured spirits end up taking on a form of themselves, of the person that's supposed to, they're gonna kill before they kill them. So literally, it's like yourself is killing you, which I really, really, really did like. It's like your own enemy is yourself. In the end, even though it's not really yourself, it's a ghost. But it's really a big horror mystery, and to see how they can get out of this alternate dimension, as well as solve the murder of what happened so many years ago. And yeah, that's why I like Corpse Bride. Now, number 3 is Pumpkin Night. Pumpkin Night, for me, I read earlier this year. You can go back and watch my manga review on it. I love Pumpkin Night for a few reasons. One is because I have ADHD, and in manga and anime, I have never seen an anime character portrayed with my diagnosis of mental illness, which I don't believe ADHD is a mental illness, but it is classified as one. And it's really considered a learning learning illness, but not really a mental illness, but whatever. And in the main villain, or I want to say the main character, who's really more like a hero in a way, is has ADHD, which you don't find out actually until the prequel story that's the author created after the main story. But basically, it's about this girl, Nico something. I'm just gonna call her Nico, who earlier when she was in junior high, on the Halloween dance, she was always bullied by these kids. The same classmen were bullied by them, and she always would take it she would take the bullying and still try to provide a smile. Well, one day at the Halloween dance, the bullying went too far. So kind of like in how in the movie Carrie, when they had the dance and the prom, and she would promote a pumpkin with blood, but this was different. They were calling the pumpkin queen, I believe it was, or the queen of pumpkins or whatever. And the winning person would get a pumpkin shaped like a mask, but it's a pumpkin. They put it on their head. What they didn't tell her was that the bullies ended up putting pumpkin sulfuric acid bags inside, or a bag that's specifically for sulfuric acid, so it won't eat through it. Firecrackers and basically with a match. So when she put on the thing ignited, acid went all over her face, and fire started, burst, and she basically got horrifically, first of all, chemical burns, and got burned her face almost to a crisp. To the point where later on she gets sent to a mental hospital after she tries to tell everyone that they had did this to her, and she ends up going after the kids that did it. Where later on, the boy who ended up liking her after she supposedly dies, and later on in the manga, takes on her mantle and gets more brutal and hunts down the rest of her killers. And really, it's a really good slasher manga, which you don't see a lot of slasher manga or slasher anime, which personally is one of my favorite genres of horror. And I really enjoyed that. I guess the artwork is very gruesome. Let me tell you, one of my favorite scenes in the manga is one scene where she's uploading to one of the kills to YouTube, and she says, "Did you drink the Red Bull? Because you're about to grow wings." And I love that because a lot of the commercials we see a lot on television, even today, is the Red Bull commercial. Drink Red Bull, you grow wings. Yeah. So I was like, whoa. I was like, whoa, that was a great one line right there. This manga is full of one-liners, really good one-liners from the killer, or Nico, or if you want. Yeah. Hope you do read Pumpkin Night. You can read online for free. Just look at Pumpkin Night and read manga, and then you can probably read it there. Definitely read the prequel series before you read the full, the manga. But even then, if you could just start with the manga, it's fine too. The original Pumpkin Night. I really do like it. I recommend it. Number 4 is Shiki. Now, Shiki is, I'm going to say this now. I am particularly not a vampire person in all aspects of life. I particularly do not like vampires. Not because they scare me, I just find them very, very horrible creatures to want to be. Sorry. I'm particularly a werewolf person, which I would love to see more werewolves in anime and manga. The only anime I remember seeing a werewolf in is in Rosario Vampire. I mean, come on. And he's like a creep character, but he was a really good character nonetheless. I was the only time I've seen a werewolf in an anime or in a manga. So I hope to God we see them more in a manga or anime. But Shiki is basically about this town called Seattle or something like that, where things have been going really strange lately. People have been disappearing, sicknesses going around, and all that, and the town doesn't know what's going on. And the real downright story is that it turns out that these vampires called Shiki, which is a vampire basically, are causing these people disappearance. And really, the way you look at it from both perspectives. You can see both perspectives in the manga. Is that the vampires are only trying to stay alive and do their best to survive. So are the humans. Okay, you see both sides of their plight. You see the humanity side of the vampires who just want to stay alive and survive and maybe start a family at some point. And you see the humanity side, the town villagers that they don't want to be food for these creatures. They just want to have a normal, happy life without the fear of their blood sucked to dry, right? That all culminates to the end of this manga where the villagers basically just rise up, create a form of angry mob, and hunt down all the fucking Shiki in the town with a mass execution. To the point where the town is actually on fire, and few of the main characters are ending up escaping on a bus, going to another town to survive, to live. I guess that'd be the best word. Basically the fear and both people wanting to survive, and you feel bad for the vampires at the end, but you also you chastise the humans, but they're not. Both of them are not wrong. Well, in their approach, the vampires want to survive by drinking blood. That's the only way they can survive. The humans don't want to be drinking blood, so they kill the vampires. but you feel for conflicted both sides, and that's what I really liked about this manga is that you feel for the both sides of you feel for the ones that you're supposed to hate, and you feel for the ones that you later on becoming to hate because you spent all the time with the Shiki, but not enough time with the villagers, but you still see the villagers' plight because you see it as yourself. Because you yourself wouldn't want to be your blood sucked dry by a vampire and then killed, would you? No. Unless if you do, then there's something wrong with you. But anyways, that's what I really liked about this manga is that you see it makes you feel helpless in the fact that you don't know which side is really right or wrong because they're both doing it for the need and the basic necessity of survival. They want to survive, and the only way to do that is by doing for the vampire drinking blood, and for the humans to kill the vampires that we've grown to come accustomed to and felt feelings towards since that point. Anyways, the next manga is number 5 is called Balloons, and that is again by Jdog. It's about basically, as best way I can describe it, it's a warning against following the crowd and idolization of people. Anyways, after this one actress committed suicide and gets broadcast over the news, people start committing her fans start committing suicide just like her, and at some point balloons of people's faces start showing up in Tokyo in the city. The main character of this anime or manga is a girl, and these balloons end up going to find the person that the person's face that the balloon is like. When it finds that person, it will hang them or do anything to kill them, and it will stop at nothing to do it. And if there's no getting rid of it, if you shoot the balloon down, that person will die. It's like a double-edged sword. You can't. There's no escaping it. The best way to describe it would be to stay inside. And the ending of the manga. I keep saying anime. Sorry, I'm really used to doing anime vids, not manga vids. The ending of the manga goes as follows: is the fact that the main character, the girl or MC, has been trapped in the house for some time now, and her brother had earlier in the manga had left to go find and go see if she could get help, if he could get help, and he hasn't seen her. She hasn't seen him for a long time, for a while, and then she gets a knock at her window, and she sees what seems to be her brother, and then it was revealed that her brother is now dead and is being controlled by one of the balloons with a umbrella stabbed through his chest and opened part of the way, and that is what's causing I don't know, and that was the end of the manga itself. But the thing it touches on is also hopelessness, because you see there's no way out of this, because either you're gonna die from facing going outside finally and just death, or you're going to die from starvation because you can't go outside to get food because obviously the balloons are going to attack you. And what I realized was also interesting was that all the balloons won't, even if a balloon has already taken someone, it will then try to attack another person, which I don't understand why, but I guess okay. And that was really the story itself. It warns against idolization, following the crowd, and really just being another person that follows the trends, really, because there's nothing wrong with being unique, and that's what Ingenieur is trying to say in this story is nothing wrong with being unique, but sometimes being following the crowd can end you up in bad situations, ending up like that. And I really like this series, balloons. And again, I'm gonna say this now. I really like Ginger Ichi's artwork, and all of that. That's been my review or my top 5 favorite horror manga list. I'm gonna have to give you a honorable mention though for Ibisu. I recently read this a couple weeks ago. Completed reading it a couple weeks ago, and I really did like it. The story basically. I'm just gonna give you a quick rundown of some of the description of the story. This guy ends up going. There's an urban legend of a demonic Lolita, aka this girl, who sits in a bundle of trashes after people will bring them out to go for trash. So apparently they don't have trash bins in outside in Japan for some reason. And she will sit and waiting for a boy to cross by, a young man, and she will ask him one question: would you have a sister? And if, depending on your answer, you immediately sealed your fate. The best thing is not to answer. But if you do choose the answer, let's say you do have a sister and you say, yes, I would have a sister, she will then hunt down and kill your sister, anyone who stands in her way, and then try to become your sister. If you say no, she'll kill you, if you say no, she'll still become your sister because you don't have a sister. Anyways, that's it for this video. I hope you all enjoy this collab. My name is, again, Senpai JD. Hope you subscribe to my channel. I really am trying to get to 200 subs before, I guess, 2021. And I really want to make this actual as a career and someday at some point. I really do like working on YouTube, and I really don't want to work at a desk job or anything like that. But hope you all enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace. And thank you again for Jdog for doing this clap with me. Bye, everybody.
Let me show you how to scratch it.